Well, hello and welcome to a Zoom meeting with Tom Price, who is, of course, the founder of an organization that has been looking at many aspects of life in our community and governance. Tom, maybe you can describe just what OTOCI is all about, just very, very briefly, and why us seniors are involved.
Certainly, OTOCI stands for Our Towns, Our City Institute. And we started that in 2018, following the last municipal election, as an information source, putting out facts to the voting public. Unfortunately, with all of the information sharing and all that we have these days, dissemination of information to the public in a factual format has become even more rare than it was in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So we took it upon ourselves, and we've gradually been growing as an organization, and we now have close to 100, just under 100 members. So it's gained traction by being factual and being honest in everything we put out. We are gaining a following of people who know they can rely on us. So we are very meticulous in making sure that we do not put out anything that is not true.
It is very difficult to share information. I know we did a survey with some of the members of CARP, the Canadian Association of Retired Persons, and it was really a split between, TV, radio, and newspapers. And now, of course, we have the internet, and there's all sorts of social media that is accessible. Some is reliable and some not. But in event, and I'm a member of the organization and also of a couple of seniors groups and other organizations in town. And, really letting people know what's really going on is a little bit challenging, I guess is the best way to put it. But at least we're trying. And right now and today, in this episode here of what might be called The Price is Right, we're going to be looking at something coming up this week on Wednesday. It's going to be an examination of the KED, the Kingsway Entertainment District. And just a little bit of background here, and you can help me out on this, Tom, and that's the fact that we've been looking at I guess it's the whole situation with respect to the KED and a study that's been undertaken by the city to look at really, now we're not exactly sure what really we're looking at, because back in January 26th, the mayor said he actually directed staff to take a look at this situation and to reevaluate it in the light of COVID. And it's been since 2017 that the original idea came forward and approved by council for the KED. And then on February the 9th, there was another presentation to council, a motion that was put forward. And you've taken a look at that. Can you describe exactly what happened from January the 26th, when the mayor directed staff to take a look at the situation, and then the motion that occurred coming up on February the 9th?
Certainly. Essentially what happened was a local architect, excuse me, Third Line, developed a proposal to upgrade the existing community arena, or the barn as it's called. That gained a lot of traction with the public, primarily because the cost was purported to be some $60 million less than the proposal on the Kingsway.
Or around 60 million, which would be less than the $110 million for the Kingsway, right?
Well under the Kingsway cost, yeah. Yes. Yes, it had different amenities than the Kingsway, but the cost savings was seen by the general public as being a very attractive thing to do. Plus, it kept the socioeconomic conditions of the inner city intact. So a motion was brought forward to take a look at this. That was debated by council and considerable back and forth. But at the same time, this McEwen School of Architecture had launched an international competition for a Sudbury 2050, which was going on. So what staff agreed to, and the motion said that the Sudbury would direct, City of Greater Sudbury direct staff to review and compile the facts associated with the event center project, and where necessary, provide updated information based on events subsequent to the council's June 2017 decision to proceed with the project.
Mhm.
So they had to look at facts, and they had to look at what subsequent events had come up that could influence this.
That's true. Now, besides third line, there are other submissions to council with respect to concerns regarding the KED, and this included situations with respect to the environment. And
Yes.
I know the Greater Sudbury Watershed Alliance and other environmental groups, including the Mineral Lake Restoration Group, and they quoted findings by a study that was done with respect to the Ramsey Lake watershed, and the fact that the development, especially the parking lots, would be in the recharge area for Lake Ramsey, which would indeed threaten Lake Ramsey and its water supply. So these were also concerns that were presented to council, along with a number of other concerns on the part of interested citizens, individuals, and groups.
Oh, yes. In fact, one of the big ones has always been and continues to be and will be parking. And totally missing from this latest report is the fact that the KED project allows for 1,300 parking spaces with an overflow lot to pick up any additional overflow. Well, 1,300 parking spaces is about 2,000 less than there is in the downtown core. That is not mentioned anywhere in the report that came back. So yeah, and that these are facts and these are events that don't get mentioned. The environmental impact of building a new structure versus restoration of an existing one. Almost 3 times the amount of sulfur dioxide emission or carbon dioxide emissions from a new one. And we have a policy of climate change emergency and a net zero emissions by 2050, to which council has dedicated $1 billion. But we ignore the 3 times the emissions due to the new one. That does not appear.
There seems to be some seems to be a number of emissions. Now, the actual terms are referenced in that February 9th motion that was passed by council, and the $125,000 that was allocated a single source allocation, and turning to the same firm that actually did an initial analysis, and then it seems like this same firm has reversed their decision, their previous decision. Now, there's a number of questions I think the public, one, first of all, is a single source. The $125,000, which represents, I think I figured out, about the property tax of about 40 taxpayers, which is not insignificant. And then, of course, the actual terms of reference, it seems like what they've done is looked at the terms of reference that were originally with respect to the KED. Am I right there?
No.
Okay.
First of all, they said there was reference in the article in accordance with the terms of reference described in this report. Well, we've never, as a public, never seen the terms of reference for the report.
Right.
Okay. However, on top of that, the Price Waterhouse study does not confirm selection of the KED. Well, the report does. The report does so in comparison to a new proposal for the downtown arena that has never been a subsequent event as specified in the resolution, in the motion in council. So the what they call IMA concept that's in that report was never a subsequent event to the KED or moving forward. How it gets in there now raises a lot of questions. The only subsequent events were the ones you've talked about in environmental and the parking, the subsequent event of the Third Line Studios, the project now, the competition, international competition by the School of Architecture. Those are subsequent events. The IMA was not, but it's in the report as the comparator. And on top of all that, Price Waterhouse, through their disclaimers and their assumptions, basically deny any responsibility for that report entirely.
So is the report worth anything? Is it worth the up to $125,000 of our taxpayers' dollars that were spent on it?
Well, yes, it has one value. It is demonstrating the manipulation that can go on without proper policing.
Policing,
Because-
how do you mean by police? You don't mean actual police themselves?
No. I mean, people watching what's going on and raising a flag when something untoward is happening. For example, how did the IMA proposal get into this study?
Mhm.
It was not a subsequent event. It was never evaluated previously by them. The only thing that should be in that study, according to the resolution, should be the KED and the Third Line, or one of the or more of the School of Architecture proposals.
Just going back a little bit there, just going back, what is the IMA? What were you referring to as the IMA?
IMA is a architectural firm. Ian McDonald Architects is the IMA. Okay, they have offices across Canada, and basically, I believe they're headquartered out of Vancouver. That I may be wrong on, but I believe that at this point. I have nothing to discount that. But they were never involved up until this study here. So they do not fit the resolution that council gave the corporation.
Just going back, when the direction was originally by the mayor asking the staff to do this, and then the staff, I assume, said that they weren't able to do it. Therefore, a consultant was called in, and this is where the firm that looked at it originally and now looked at it again. So is there any staff involvement in this at all?
Well, if you take the assumptions made by Price Waterhouse, staff probably dictated most of the report because it's based on information provided by the city without verification by Price Waterhouse. They state that in their report. Okay. So was there city involvement? Well, since the resolution calls for compiling of facts, the only people with any facts on the project has to be the city. Price Waterhouse couldn't have any facts. IMA couldn't have any facts. So, and by the way, where are the facts? The presentation made certainly didn't disclose any facts.
If this were based on your experience, you've had experience around the world looking at various projects, and of course a long career with Inco, now Valley. If this type of presentation was presented to you or to any group you were associated with the disclaimers that are in the document, what would you do?
I would reject the report, and I would never see the light of day.
So what direction should the city be going at now based on what the mayor originally intended, I think, is to have all facts presented and the staff to take a look at it objectively for the benefit of all citizens. So where are we now? What can we expect on Wednesday, and what direction should we be going, in your opinion?
As far as what we can expect on Wednesday, that's an open book. What we should be expecting is, judging by the resolution that was passed and direction given to the city, council should be calling the city people involved in getting that report done up on the carpet and saying, where is the report we directed you to provide? And they, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just going to say that one of the interesting things in the report, which I've had the opportunity to look at, of course, is there's a lot of verbiage in that report, but there's an interesting section where they do indicate that that arenas are probably best in the downtown, and they've looked at a number of Oshawa, Kingston, London, and other centers where they've established arenas or renovated arenas in the downtown, and they seem to indicate in the report that it is a preferred alternative. But then they go on to say that no, the Kingsway is the preferred alternative based on the information that they've received, as you suggest, is from the city itself.
Well, and this comes back to Price Waterhouse distancing themselves from the report. They state uncategorically on page 3 of their report that no one can rely on the accuracy or completeness of statements that are in the report. That no one is all encompassing. That means, oh, outside of the city. Okay, well, councillors are not part of the city. Councillors are employees of the electorate. So that means that councillors cannot rely on the accuracy or completeness of the information, nor can the public. Only city staff or the corporate city are the only ones who can rely on it.
I guess I'm a little bit confused here. And if I'm confused, and I've had a number of years of experience, I've been on a lot of boards and committees and that sort of thing. And, you know, I would be highly skeptical of this report and everything that's happened since 2017. So here we are, you know, coming up in 2021, the summer just ahead of us. And some would say that this report, if it's accepted, is going to give the go-ahead to put shovels in the ground on the KED. But, you know, is that going to happen? Is there a way that we can take another look at this thing for the benefit of the citizens? There's one concern I think that a lot of people have, and that's the fact that outside of the environmental concerns, and that is the actual cost going forward. We know that we see building costs have gone up anywhere between 20 and 30% due to COVID, and this may or may not continue. But these factors also, I think, have a bearing on the whole development. Is that correct, in your opinion?
Of course they do. However, going back to your original statement there about if council accepts this report, the report is very specific under assumptions. Article 4 states that the report and work product cannot be included or be referred to in any prospectus, Securities and Exchange Commission filing, or other public investment document.
Okay, so what does that mean?
That means the council cannot refer to this report in approving money to go ahead, because approving money to go ahead is public investment of public funds. So they cannot use this report to agree to that.
But haven't they already, our city has borrowed money for this project, but it hasn't actually been appropriated. Can you give us some clarification there?
I have no idea what the appropriation level is. I do know that they borrowed 80 million out of a cost of well over 90 million now, not including interest. So they borrowed that money on a bullet debenture, and the money is sitting there. Now they've already expended over $3 million getting to this point of receiving a report that cannot be used.
Mm-hmm. I know on behalf of one of the groups I belong to, Friendly to Seniors, who've asked for freedom of information, have a detailed accounting of the $3 million that's been spent already on the KED, and we're expecting that report momentarily. We know that councillors have asked for some accounting, but as to date, it's only been a total figure, so we don't really know where this money has been spent.
Right.
thus far, but I would imagine some councillors are going to say, well, we've spent this amount of money already. Obviously, we don't, want to lose that investment. We have to go forward. Or is this putting bad money after good, or good money
Well,
after bad?
well, presumably, and we don't know this because we don't see any of the information, but presumably the bulk of that money's been spent on engineering. We don't know what's being engineered. They say that things are still going ahead. The only thing of real visible progress has been that the site has been returned to the moonscape that existed a number of years ago. They've stripped all the vegetation off of the site, and now we're back to where we were prior to the regreening effort.
Now, part of that site, the developer, the owner of the site, has transferred a certain portion of that property to the city, which
Yes.
means, of course, they don't have to pay taxes on it anymore. But that's just a portion of the site. But interestingly enough, in this engineering report or the accounting report that's just come forward, there's an indication of another development close by, which would be a film and TV studio, which has somehow been wrapped into the KED,
Right.
which is, a lot of people feel, is totally inappropriate, because that was just a proposal. And it has never even been reviewed.
Well, this gets back to the comparison not being what council asked for. Council asked for, according to what was presented and the approval was based on back in 2017. The movie studio was not part of that. Okay, they're the film studio.
Right.
Neither was the IMA downtown proposal. They were not part of that. Now, a subsequent event, well, I suppose you could say it is, but the proponents of the film studio say that they are not contingent on the KED.
No.
So even that doesn't fit anything.
No. Well, it could be a comedy, except that it's a $1 million situation that we're looking at, with not just $1 million, of course, hundreds of millions of dollars, really, when we add everything up for all the big projects that are being considered. What now, of course, as you mentioned, these counselors are really our employees. They really work for us.
Yes.
Now, what would we say to our employees in this sense on Wednesday coming up? What should they really be looking at? What should they be asking the city, the corporation, which it seems to a lot seems to be running the show almost with respect to this issue?
My message to the counselor is very clear, and I stated it in the OTOC miss of this morning that got sent out.
Mhm.
And by the way, that's not just my opinion, that's a number of people's opinion. But it was very clear. This report does not address the motion that was passed. Further to that, the consultant did not endorse either the KED or the IMA proposals, and in fact stated that they bear no responsibility. And the facts, or not the facts, the accuracy and the statements made in the report cannot be relied on by anyone other than the corporate city. That means that the council cannot rely on them. It means the public cannot rely on them. So my recommendation, and this is a personal recommendation, my recommendation to councilors would be scrap it. Scrap the KED. If this is the games that these people want to play, then scrap it, because we're not done with it if this is how they play the game.
Now, of course, as you know, our staff or our management people are responsible merely say that they've been following direction of council with respect to this whole endeavor back since 2017, when council did vote, I think 10-2, to go ahead with the KED on the Kingsway. So really, staff their argument is, or their position is, that they're really following the directives of council.
Up until the motion and the resolution of February 9th. February the 9th changed the whole game. And further to that, the February 9th resolution, they moved the goalposts after the resolution was made. Who moved the goalposts? Who put the extra option for the downtown arena in the scope of work? That was not in there. It was not intended to be in there according to the resolution. So how do you deal with that?
Well, I don't know, but it seems that the comments that we've been hearing through social media and in the media, and some very, very almost emotional request really to look at everything, to look at the third line proposal, to look at the environmental concerns, and which were not looked at in this report. So
Right.
it looks like people really want more information, more details, more analysis. And we only have about 1 minute left, so maybe you can wrap it up. What do you think going forward?
Well, rather than wrap it up that way, I can tell you that backlash has already started. Even though I let council off the hook in the letter this morning, or we did, and said that their intentions were good in passing the resolution. However, in spite of saying that, in the missive this morning, one councillor has already responded to me, and in his words, mainly, let me make it clear that I'm not speaking on behalf of City Council, so don't feel the need to distribute further emails accusing me of violating my role on council. I am speaking as a councillor mainly because of the implications you have made about my integrity through your email. I never implicated anybody on council in my email. The OTOC never accused any councillor of doing anything wrong. In fact, we said that their intentions in passing the motion were to better serve the public.
So the intentions are good, it's just that the devil's in the details, as it were.
Right. But one councillor has already decided and spreading the word that we attacked him.
No, I think you're right. The organization, and I belong as well too. Our aim has never been to attack anyone,
No.
merely to present information and to let the public know that there are concerns that perhaps we, because we have a little more time being seniors, to take a look at these aspects and to bring them to the attention of those who are interested.
Absolutely. And the more information we can share so that people are enlightened, the better.
Well, thank you for being with us. And this is Monday. We're looking forward. We'll be sending this out if all goes well. And we encourage the public to take interest.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here, Tom. Bye for now.